Warning: this video contains major spoilers for the story of EDF6. If you want to follow the story as you play, I highly recommend exiting this video. If you just want to know the lore or have already played the game in the Japanese release, I hope this video helps you understand the EDF lore a little better. So before we start talking about what was revealed in EDF6, let's go over what we knew from EDF5. The primers are the main enemies that we fight in EDF5. Their forces mainly consist of the monsters, the drones, the colonists, and the cosmonauts. The monsters consist of the giant insects and the kaijus. The drones consist of the robots, such as the flying discs and the deroys. The colonists are the humanoid frogs that are being controlled using computer chips implanted in their brains. The cosmonauts are the gray aliens wearing spacesuits and are the main forces leading the primer army. The leader of the primers is the Nameless, who is a godlike figure and somewhat resembles the cosmonauts. In this video, I'll be mainly referring to the enemies using their official names, so be sure to remember the names I just mentioned. In solo mission number 92, Attack of the Flying Fleet, the Strategic Intelligence Division reveals that remnants of an alien ship from several thousand years ago was found 17 years earlier in India. In addition, Indian mythology mentions that a golden ship dropped from the skies, which they call Vimana. The paintings that they drew of the ship are almost identical to the appearance of the teleportation ships. The people who found out about the existence of an alien civilization pushed world powers to form a global military organization with powerful weaponry, which is now the EDF. Now, let's move on to the main subject of this video. Who exactly are the primers? The simple answer: they're time-traveling Martians. But if we're being more specific, things become a little more complex. The main force of the primers, namely the cosmonauts, the Nameless, and two of the new enemies added in EDF6, the Kululus and the Kraken, are from Mars over 100,000 years in the future. They came to the current time period using the ring-shaped ship, which possesses the ability to time travel. The drones also come from the same place since they are manufactured by the primers. The monsters and the colonists, however, are a different case. As mentioned in EDF5, these two groups come from a different planet from the cosmonauts and are essentially being forced to fight for the primers. The question is, where did the primers bring them from? Well, it's the very planet they are being forced to fight on. The monsters and the colonists are inhabitants of Earth in the future that the primers live in. By this period, humanity has already gone extinct due to environmental pollution or a nuclear war. The new inhabitants have evolved to survive in the severe environment left by humanity, which is why they have high combat capabilities and the ability to purify pollution. Most of this is mentioned by the professor in offline mission number 108, Tactical Air Operation, and number 109, Alien Attack. So check these two missions to learn more when the Western version is released. Next, let's move on to why the primers decided to attack humanity. This portion is mainly based on the hypothesis stated by the professor in offline mission number 134, Council of Phelps, and number 147, Scales of Time, but since it's made by an in-game character, I think it's safe to say that this is the canon. So, it all starts off when the primers decided to take a look at their neighboring planet. There, they found traces of an ancient civilization that existed in the far past. Curious to find out more about this civilization, they travel far into the past when this civilization, which we know as humanity, was just being born to observe them. The primers sometimes even appeared in front of humanity and were revered as gods by them. This directly connects to the drawings that were mentioned in EDF5. However, the primers soon realized that their existence cannot be known by humanity, since they could potentially erase primer civilization before it could even exist. This case is later proven to be true in the last mission, when humanity polluted Mars and changed how evolution occurred on the planet, destroying the conditions needed for the primers to be born. To avoid this from happening, the primers cut all ties with humanity and disappeared from their sight. However, as we already know, one of the ships crashed in India, and humanity found the ship several thousand years later. The event that led to the foundation of the EDF was also the reason why the primers decided to attack humanity. The primers theorized that by eliminating humanity, they would be able to correct the fatal error that they made and eliminate all dangers that threatened the conditions needed for the primers to be born. Since we now know that the primers' motivation was to erase humanity from existence, let's talk about why the primers kept on resetting even after they seemingly won. This portion is going to be even more speculation heavy than the previous portions, but hear me out. In order to decrease the probability of a time paradox occurring, the primers had to attack within a limited time span. The time limit, as you can probably guess, is the day the ring appears. If they couldn't wipe out humanity within that time limit, they would send part of the remaining army and the information they acquired to the past, and use that to gain an even larger advantage over humanity. By repeating this process, they would be able to eventually erase all of humanity from existence. So, in simple terms, the reason why the primers kept on going back in time was because they had not accomplished their main objective. What's important to note here is that humanity losing does not equate to the primers winning. Even if humanity lost, if the primers did not complete their objective, then that timeline will count as a failure and they will need to redo the attack. Since humanity was also able to obtain information about the primers through the Professor and Storm 1, they were eventually able to gain the upper hand and win the war against the primers. This is going to be the end of this video. If you still have any questions about EDF lore, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll be happy to reply. If there's anything else that I feel needs a bit more explaining, I'll make another video on it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.